Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Miles Apart in the common room. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, the common room was a bit rowdy today. We're talking about a trending topic on Twitter and Instagram, the video that the popular influencer Maraji made in response to a particular man that was sharing his experience while his wife was pregnant. And as you can see, if you've probably seen that video, you know that a lot of people were in support of what Maraji said, and some other people were in support of the man having expressed himself the way he did. Watch this episode to know what we think. We are all men, unmarried, without kids. But yeah, watch to know what we think. And then you can also let us know what you think in the comment section. And yeah, let's get into it. I talked about it before that the context of fornication is pre-marriage sex, which now lays a heavy burden on the institution of marriage. At what point are we married?
At what point do you become husband and wife? And I
Yeah.
think it's at that point that really counts. Like whatever that is to you, whether
It's individual to everybody.
I think
I would say it's individual to cultures, I guess, is the way to put it.
See,
No,
but
at what
then-
point do you guys call yourself husband and
for me
wife?
to just slough on, because I
But
can
like-
tell you a matter of fact now that now I'm your husband.
I mean, then good for you.
but the thing is also like, what happens to people like us, where we are raised in a different culture, we grew up in a different culture, but we are in a new culture,
Exactly.
and
No. Which is what I'm saying. No, I'm saying that what I'm saying is that for you, whatever the point you're calling yourself, like husband and wife point, whether it's in one, like it's in culture, like legit, if you say you're husband and wife now, like good for you. And when you go outside, you're introducing yourself as husband and wife, like good for you.
I have
right?
actually introduced myself as I've introduced me as my wife before, and so
Okay.
that could
Then you guys might as well just be McQueen. So
yeah. I mean, this gives me a bit of joy. The only marriages that were recorded in the Bible were of people that were affluent or like royal family. Do you get it? So how were random people getting married? Because
not
I'm
even
not
all the affluent
and I'm
people,
not a royal family. I'm not David
not
or
like
something.
rich. Yeah,
So-
even David. Baba was like pro at just capturing women up and down. David,
was a
how
man
many
after-
marriages? How
was a
many
man
marriages did David
after-
do?
He was
How
a
many
man
marriages did
after
David do?
God's
That
own
does not go against what he did.
Technically, the kid was killed. The kid outside of marriage was killed.
See, that would again come to the conversation that we're having earlier. But let's put that aside. David, Bathsheba, what was it? Bathsheba? Was her name Bathsheba? I can't remember again.
Yeah, Bathsheba,
But
yeah.
there was
Bathsheba.
Nabal's. There was Bathsheba, and then there was Nabal's wife, right? The wicked man that died, and all of a sudden just moved to David's house, and that was it, right? And then there were a couple of other people, and then there was Solomon's
Uriah.
mother. No, it's Solomon's mother. Is that
Solomon's
no?
mother.
Solomon's name is
Is
Bathsheba. No, it's Bathsheba. There was someone
Are you
that
talking about
David.
Jezebel? Oh, what are you talking about?
Jezebel is not
Je-
Solomon's
okay,
mother.
This is not
That's-
Jezebel.
I think that's
where you're saying
Bathsheba.
Solomon's mother.
Let me just ask,
It's
That's
list of
Bathsheba.
women that David-
Yeah. What I'm trying to ask was the woman that was at the end of David's life that they were like, oh, let's send in a young woman.
This is
to
the
warm
list
it
of
up.
women that King David slept. Jesus Christ, 8 women.
Jesus Christ on the motorbike. I mean, you know, I don't think he did as much as Solomon.
I mean,
This-
Solomon's own was.
This explains why Solomon took after his father.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, it starts
Solomon-
from Michael.
David
Michael
walked
is
so
daughter
that
of-
Solomon would run.
Of Saul.
Yeah. Michael is daughter of Saul, his first wife. Then there is Noah or something. Then there's Abigail,
I know Abigail.
Yeah.
widow
Okay.
of Nabal.
Yes.
Then there's
Nabal,
Michal,
yeah.
daughter of Tamar. Then there's Agit. Then there's
Tamar.
Abital. Then there's Eglah. Abi is hallucinating. Let me
Yes,
tell
nah,
you,
the man tried.
put Bible verses.
No, David had. So that's to tell you that David had concubines and wives.
He had a good
It's
life.
putting Bible verse beside it. Jesus Christ.
I mean,
Oh
a
my
lot of
God.
like, I mean, the patriarchs, a bunch of them had multiple wives.
And concubines.
Yeah.
Concubines.
Yeah.
David
but-
had her brought to his house and she became his wife and bore him a son.
She
Just
became.
like that. Just like that.
So I
Which is
think
I'm like at the point where the person becomes, when you guys become husband and wife, I think is at that point that it becomes
Wow.
legal.
This
Yeah.
is fascinating.
it is fascinating.
So yeah, if your girlfriend comes to your house and you're like, now you've become my wife. Like,
Can we do
I
it
see.
over video call? Or does it
I,
have to, does it have to come to my house?
people are doing that over video call now. Doing lots more over video call.
Wow.
So
Israel, thank you very much for this revelation. This is eye-opening, to be honest.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
um,
But I mean, it's like it's a good point. Like the fact that like at what point do you become husband and wife? Because
yeah,
like more
that's
like
the
at
biggest
what
question.
it's not so much at what point do you become husband. It's more like at like what is marriage exactly, right? Because
Yeah.
it differs by culture.
yeah.
And if people are gonna say that, oh, like according to the Bible, obviously there was like no church wedding in like
Yeah.
people that are gonna try to be sanctimonious. Like there was like no church wedding.
I think the Bible spoke about
I mean,
witnesses though.
funny thing is like when Paul was even talking about this whole thing and was like, I advise you that you don't marry, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. But if you feel like you can't hold yourself, get you a girl and marry. Like there was no like, oh, have a priest be there, all of that thing. And like even in the scriptures, like in all the cultures that there was no really, like we said, there was no really priesthood or like someone
Yeah.
like joining you, like stuff like
Yeah. So let me read
yeah,
what I have here. The Bible does not detail a specific uniform ceremony that declares marriage. Instead, it emphasizes a covenant commitment and then the public establishment of the union.
yeah,
Historically, in Bible, marriage often involves two stages, especially in the Jewish tradition. A covenant agreement of betrothal, this is a public binding and commitment, like an engagement,
Mm.
that is like the covenant that you're telling everybody in the public. Then the consummation, becoming one flesh, the
yeah,
physical union, often accompanied by the groom taking the bride into his home, where e.g. Isaac brings Rebecca into his tent and she became it. Sorry, are you seeing this thing? Then she became his wife. It's like
yeah.
post-sex. Then you
It's
become his
it's, it's
wife.
like sex adds to the wife. Like
Oh my
sex is what
This
god, this is
confirms the wifeship.
interesting.
which now begs the question: how many wives might you possess right now,
Like two
Israel
possessed.
and
I
Samuel?
think I don't even think that I don't think that when we look at the patriarchs or like not patriarchs or the like
Ah,
fathers of the Bible, right?
mhm.
I
Okay.
don't like it wasn't until when we go to like the New Testament when you started seeing a lot of monogamous men, as it were. Like it felt like a lot of them were like the approach that we are taking right now when it comes to sex and relationship and marriages. They were
They
like
were raw dogging
they
it.
were raw dogging it out there. Like think about the fact that Abraham and his handmaiden or Sarah's handmaiden, and he became a deadbeat. He kicked her out.
No, I mean, one thing I would say about that is like, I don't think the fathers were
Became a
perfect
dead baby.
examples.
See, no,
You get, yeah,
see, whether it's perfect or imperfect example, that's beside the point right now. They were examples. They've been examples. There are examples on how a lot of the
Doesn't
things are doing.
concern Samuel
Well,
with perfect.
do you get?
no,
Somewhere
no.
is just
The
like,
When
justification for
when we
what
talk,
Samuel
see,
wants.
when we talk about tithing, for example, we talk about Adam's tithe, Abraham's tithe, right? We talk about his
Mhm.
tithes,
So why
whatever.
can't we talk about the sexual life,
Why
right?
can't we talk about see? And again,
Yeah,
it's
we
also
can't be
like
picking and choosing
we
Israel.
can,
How dare you say that?
how dare you? Okay, calm down.
Exactly.
But
These
I'm
are the
just saying,
fathers of the
like,
faith.
you think about that. You think about the man that was professed to be a man after God's heart. We just saw he had 8 wives. We didn't even know them. We only know 3 wives. Or he had 8 people that he had met with at some points, you
Yeah,
know.
that's actually
So
serious.
and then we have Solomon, who wrote the entire book of Proverbs, right? And
Yeah, Solomon's Proverbs is just a post not clarity this thing. Like but Baba Shinkato Yeko one call Proverbs hour. Like it's also like all is vanity. Of course.
Yeah, Diego was
Of
writing
course, all is vanity.
Ecclesiastes. He was
The
like,
richest man ever has
after
oh,
died.
Ecclesiastes, yeah.
he has
The
been to the
richest man
streets. He
ever
was
lived.
like, he
700
has
wives,
seen like
300
after
concubines.
all that I have seen, I've discovered all his
Of course,
vice.
you've
Like,
seen all, sort
like
of. Like, what have you not seen?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
A thousand different
you've
forms.
seen Queen of Sheba. You've seen everything. Like, what
Yeah.
else are you not seeing?
Ah,
I
I mean,
mean,
there's
it's
there's a theory that he and Queen of Sheba were like a thing. So
I
which is
don't
possible, anyways.
okay, what are we going to deny? But like my point is just like it's I mean the Bible is obviously a book of imperfect people, and we say people like imperfect people trying to write a perfect story, I guess. I don't know. But my own thing is shy that like we have to acknowledge that imperfection. I think that's where A lot of people don't. It's like
The
this
Bible
is.
said that Queen of Sheba traveled, head of Solomon's fame, and traveled to meet him to test him with hard questions.
Hard indeed. Hard,
Okay,
hard indeed.
guys, before we
Like,
get cancelled by
can
the
we be for
internet
real?
mob, can we before we get
Hard
cancelled by the
indeed.
internet mob, let's move into the topic of the week, please.
Can we be for real?
Let's move into the topic of the week. Well, I'm gonna get cancelled on this next topic anyway, so let us well keep it
Oh
for
my
the
I
non-religious
mean,
folks.
like he went to test hard questions.
God. I'm just reading it now.
I am not gonna get cancelled with you guys on this
I can't
topic.
believe how very, very like unbelievable this is now when you read them in retrospect. Like
I
ask
mean, it's
questions
possible
indeed.
went to test
Anyway,
with
yeah,
hard
guys, let's
questions.
get into it. Earlier this
Let's
week,
get into it.
there was a trending topic on
Oh my
the
god,
internet. Yeah, the summary, calm down.
I was mad.
The summary, for those who don't know, is that there was a podcast, particularly for men to hear their opinions on marriage, child bearing, all of those stuff. And particular man went up there, talked about his experience with his wife getting pregnant and what he felt during that period in terms of people paying attention to the wife and how he must have felt during that period and everything. He shared that on the podcast, which was meant for men to share their opinions and how they're feeling. A popular influencer picked some parts of that video, cut some clips of it, took it to Instagram, reacted to it in the most unkind and mocking way you could ever imagine. And I mean, the trolls just started coming from there. And yeah, there are two sides. People who believe that he shouldn't have said that at all. He shouldn't even have felt that. And people who believe that, yeah, he should definitely have said that because he felt it. And I think the only joy I have in all of this is that not everybody is agreeing with what the influencer said. Because I would have been more distraught if everybody was agreeing with what the influencer said. But there's so many people
I was
on
destroyed.
Twitter and on Instagram who are disagreeing. I'm talking about even people who are a bit, maybe even bigger influencers. And that for me is very good. So, but yeah, we'll be good to talk about it. And
We
what do you
were
guys think?
maybe you are on the wrong side
How do you
because I
feel
I was
when
disappointed.
you watch that video? Who
I
are you
was
disappointed in? Like the
disappointed.
internet?
No, I actually saw people that were specific. I actually had to message one of them like, "Hey, I'm curious. Did you watch the video at all? Like, did you watch the entire video, or you just watched this clip?"
Yeah,
Because I
yeah,
went to watch the entire video, and the
yeah.
man wasn't even talking about himself. He was talking
Yeah, I was talking
about
about
how he said there are some things they don't prepare you for as a man, and that was what he was talking about. It was like that was a masterclass on how actually when we are passionate about raising good men and better men. He was explaining how there's so many things that you are not prepared for as a man when it comes to marriage, and people try to make it sound like it's all perfect and all good and all nice, but there are so many things that you've got to prepare for as a man that you have to know, which is why the whole idea of glorified errand boy came in, and where he was explaining that the focus would be on the woman and it's not going to be on you. So it wasn't saying that, it wasn't taking anything from the woman's experience, it wasn't reducing from the woman's experience. And for me, what I saw was a society that was asking for men's vulnerability but wasn't ready to accept it. Was asking for men to be present, and then saying that said men, when they are present, they don't deserve any award. But this same group of women, would come on Twitter to argue about whether a woman should get salary for raising kids or not. Like, I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Like, if you argue that the man's responsibility is to be a father, then it's as well your responsibility to be a mom. Like, so in my end, I was seeing all of these conversations, and I was mad at how people actually hate men. Like, it was like, at the crux of it, people hated men to the point that when we say, just ask me how I'm doing. And this is not the first time. I think this guy, Sheye Dele, Sheye, or I think Sheye Dele, one of these tech startup CEOs,
yeah. Go
also
ahead. I know
spoke
the
about
person.
this experience where it was like when he gave birth that he didn't feel seen, and it wasn't until like everyone kept giving the money to the wife when he was the one shouldering all the financial responsibility, and it felt like at least if someone had looked his way, it would help him offset a lot of the bills that he was dealing with at the time, right? And this is just to say, like, I saw that, I was so livid. And that was the last thing I watched. I saw before I went to bed yesterday, like the tweets and everything.
Oh,
And I had gone through I watched the entire video, and I was like, this is a 40-minute podcast episode,
yeah.
right? The entire context of this was probably 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You could have watched the entire 5 minutes, but you went out of your way to maliciously paint this guy, call him a
Yeah.
princess or something, say that he's trying to take everything, talk about how him saying that he cannot sleep when we all know that not sleeping for that long number of hours is not good for your health. When we all know that, we're now saying that a man that isn't sleeping is like, I was disappointed. I'm not even gonna lie. I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
So
Technically, I
disappointed.
mean, I was not disappointed in the influencer because I was not appointed to begin with. And the reason is because, yeah, generally, I'm not a fan of people who take things out of context to prove a point, or people who even create content like that to begin with. I think it's generally unkind to
Mhm.
talk about people, like whether whatever, leave whatever the topic is, to pick somebody's video, put them in the kidney, laugh at them, knowing that you have, like, I don't know, maybe over 1 million followers, people who would do your bidding. You're
Mhm.
setting them up to be bullied.
I,
The question I asked
I,
one of my friends is that, what is the net positive of that video? Like, what has been the advantage of the video that the influencer had created? If, I mean, maybe the next positive is the fact that we're talking about it now, but generally, what was she hoping to achieve? There was no correction made. There was
yes.
no this. It was mostly just setting up this man to be dragged and mocking this man. And
Yes.
I think that in itself is unfair and it is unkind. Generally, nobody will tell you what to do with your followers or your influence, but it's just unkind to do
Yeah.
that. To know that your followers are going to react in a visceral way to this. I mean, this influencer is the mother. She has documented her pregnancy experience many times. She has talked about the terrible things that she went through. She went deaf at a point. I think she went blind, partially blind at a point. This is someone that
Mhm.
a lot of our followers have seen that.
Mm.
They know our pregnancy experience.
There's that
So now,
context.
yeah, so there's that context. To now bring somebody's video from another community entirely and then bring it to your this thing community and just record that video, and the caption is, I get it but I don't get it,
Mm.
and you're laughing at him in the video, you are
But
doing all those
there was nothing in that
hysterical.
video that said that she got it. There was nothing.
No, there was not, like, the whole hysterical response, the reactions. I'm like, do you really have to do it? If you want to make your point, make your point and let's go home. But there was, I think, a lot of it. That's, for me, that was the first thing that I thought was a red flag. Like, setting
Mhm.
up someone to be dragged, I think it's a bad thing. I've experienced this before when I was in Lagos. I was organizing an event and someone had reached out to me that they wanted to come to the event to interview attendees. And I've seen the kind of content that this person does. They do all this vox pop thing where they catch you unaware. They ask you to maybe spell Nigeria or something, and then your video is trending for like 10 days. So I'm like, I'm happy for you to come and do content, but we're going to review the videos before they go out. I'm not setting
Mm.
up people that are paying tickets for this event for drags. And then the
Mhm.
person is like, oh, they're not going to, I should not worry. And they didn't come. And I'm like, yeah, fine. Don't bother to come, because your plan is to catch people at the vulnerable moments where they are saying something, maybe they're stammering or something, and
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
you now upload that so that they can be dragged by strangers. I don't know why people derive joy in doing something like that, but I think it's generally unkind. Then to the
Like,
other topic of what the man himself actually said, I called one of my female friends after this, who is married, and obviously she disagreed with the influencer, and we're talking, and I was trying to explain to her that I think I had not even watched the full video at the time. But my question is that when we talk about, let's take the man's words as face level. Let's take it within that small snippet. He said
Context.
nobody
Yeah.
asked how are you, right?
mhm.
Is there extra energy needed to ask somebody else how are you after you've asked the mother how are you? That's the first
Mm.
question I don't understand. Like,
Mhm.
if you've asked the pregnant mother how are you, is there like extra, like, is it that when you ask the man how are you, it takes away from the how are you
The
that you've asked
mother,
from the wife?
yeah, yeah.
I grew up very sick. I mean, at least I think Israel knows that. And a lot of the times when I'm in the hospital, people visit my mom and they ask her that, Pawuni, you've been in the hospital for like 1 week now, like all of those things. Why are they not just, well, they ask her how she's doing, because my inherent sickness is affecting her life. Even though she's my mother, it is her duty and her responsibility. She literally brought me into this world. It is her job to
Mhm.
make sure that I am fine. But at the same time, people still care for her and showed concern for her, apart from caring for me and showing concern for me. I don't think one takes away from the other. You can do
Mhm.
both at the same time.
Yeah.
This idea of trying to win, I don't know. When I saw the entire thing, it's like, do people want peace in their marriage, or they want to just be winning? Because
Mm.
if you are in a marriage and your husband is saying that, I'm not gonna lie to you, even my own friends, and when I called that my married friend, for example, her husband said that there was time that, I mean, one of their friend maybe like lost a child, and even he himself, who is a man, was subconsciously calling the wife more than he was calling the husband. to check in. That it's just subconscious. Like he didn't even clock it. That wait a minute, my friend is actually the guy. The guy is probably feeling something to like everything. So why are we not like doing that? And I think it boils back to that thing of you're a man, be strong, and that's what people were now saying on Twitter. People were like, "Hey, man, you want the expert? How are you?
Yes.
And I'm just
Yeah.
like, this really just took
Yes.
us 10,000 years back.
Yes. Back.
That's why I'm actually pissed. I'm
Yes.
more
Yeah,
pissed about
yeah,
the fact that on a global scale,
Yeah.
this video is a disappointment. That's actually why I'm pissed.
yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
just
I,
because
I,
of what
I,
it is.
I think so.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
think it's a I mean, I couldn't watch even that short clip to the end because I was disgusted.
Yeah,
But like
very
I couldn't
triggered.
watch it because like I think the mocking way is obviously very disgusting. Like, you see, man. I was like, bro, like
I was
you're
disappointed.
like I
Like,
was
We
like,
are
what
adults
like
here.
and you're an adult and like I couldn't watch it today. So that was my first problem. But I think the second thing is like which boils back to what we started talking about yesterday, like last time we were talking about the fact that I think sometimes nowadays we've thought that addressing men's issues means bringing women down, right?
I agree.
And I think that's a false dilemma that we are creating for ourselves, right? If you don't balance the two together, it's obvious still going to lead to some problem,
Yeah.
right? Like and like Michael said, I think we are doing that this comparative analysis that oh the woman carried the baby and delivered the baby and done all of that, but it's also like there's a mental load that someone is, and both of them are not opposing. They can both stand. Like
Exist. Yes.
one does not
Take from the
Yes.
other.
take from the
Yes.
other. Like you
Yes.
don't have to take one from the. You don't have to be like, oh, now because you are this, like, oh, now, like, are
Yeah.
you saying that? Are you say like, and Michael, you brought up this thing about like, for example, like when you have a girlfriend and she's going through period pains and all of that. Like, obviously, you are not saying that you're also going through period pains, but you're also going through something during that time while you're trying
Yeah.
to provide support for your girlfriend. And
Yeah.
you don't have to be like, oh, are you saying like you don't have to like
Are you saying that
Yeah.
yours is more
There's
painful?
no way
do you
to.
get like you don't have we are not comparing sufferings, yes. Like
Yeah.
we are not comparing, we are just saying that you can care about the person that is going through suffering through the period. Let's be like, how can we make that better for this
Yeah.
person? But someone is also there emotionally, someone is also going through, like someone also is like, except you're a very athlete person, your girlfriend is like the earliest, and I don't say this a lot, like, but the earliest period thing that I experienced like was like
Mhm.
when I think when my sister, one of them, like started one of her first set of period, she was twitching on the floor, like
Mhm.
she was twitching, and like I couldn't bear that pain. Like obviously I'm not going through the pain. I wouldn't say I understand the pain, but
Yes.
there's the
But
mental
seeing someone you love in
shit.
pain and you
But
can't do
seeing someone
anything.
you love in pain,
Yes.
except you're a psychopath, like
Yeah.
seeing someone you love that is in pain and you can't do anything, it also affects some part of
Yeah.
you. And we are not saying that, like, we are not comparing sufferings.
Yeah.
We're just saying that there are two different things, and you can care about the two different things at the same time, and one isn't taken from the other,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that is what some of these kind of people get wrong, which is like, oh, you're a man. Oh, we are not comparing here. We are just
Yeah.
saying that
Yeah.
there are two different things, and we
Yeah.
need to be there for those two different things,
Yeah.
I think
right?
it's the same way. It's the same way that you can experience something, or you can be an onlooker when something is happening, like a traumatic accident, for example, and
Mm-hmm.
you're traumatized by that just by looking at it.
Just
To
by
the
Mm-hmm.
point
just by
where,
being there, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to the point, yeah, you were not the one in the accident. You didn't
Yeah.
die.
You didn't.
Your
Yeah.
legs were not cut
yeah,
off, but you just witnessed that, and
Mm-hmm.
you're traumatized by it. A lot of Nigerians themselves will acknowledge that during NSAS, there was something about seeing those videos and seeing
yeah.
those things that traumatized us to the point
Mm-hmm.
where even now, when people see the police,
They are
they are
triggered, yeah,
there's
Mm-hmm.
PTSD. Do you get it?
yeah,
The police has never done anything to you,
The
but just
shared
because you
experience.
witnessed that,
Yeah.
there's PTSD. Now,
Yeah.
is it so bad for people to say, "Oh, because you have this PTSD, you should also seek therapy," just as your wife is also seeking
yeah,
the person that went through it? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think generally the major problem that I saw is this thing about people wanting to, like, we know that over the years there's been a very giant divide between men and women, I honestly thought that we're closing that gap a little bit in the past 10 years. I think we were. I don't know if we were.
No,
Maybe I'm
no,
being
no, no,
No,
delusional.
we're not. We're not
I
I
at
think
think
the
all.
way
there
that I
was a
think
time that
about
we.
it.
I think there was a time
No,
that
no,
we
no.
were.
So here's what I think.
Mm.
So here's what I
Yeah.
think. I think there was an apparent closing that was happening, and it was in it's in and like we'll probably talk more about this at some point in time.
Yeah.
So for example, I'm just going to make this like, for example, for gender wage gap, we were closing that was an aspect that we're closing. But on the flip side, as we're like closing that gap, make sure that women are paid like the same
Yeah.
as men.
Yeah.
For something like education, we now have less men that are going to school and less men that are graduating. So as that gap is closing on the side for women, some other gaps is opening up on the side of men, and nobody is doing anything about
And
that, which is
actually,
now increasing the
and
gap.
and and we know that they're happening, right? But what is
What I'm even
happening now
talking
is
about
that
in terms
women
of
are
closing,
saying is what?
Samuel, it's not even about this. What I'm talking about in terms of closing the gap is that I think generally there's been a sense of there's a level of maybe magnificent hatred
Uh,
that is between both genders. And I think
yes.
that maybe there's also a separation in terms of I don't know what women go through, women don't know what I go through, everybody's just going on their own. I think there has been a bit of closing of that gap in
I
recent times where
I think
I
you're
don't
people
wrong.
think
are
so, though.
now,
I
I
think you're
don't
wrong.
think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
This
I'm
this
now
is
in my
why.
bubble.
This is
But I
why.
genuinely thought there was more education going on for people
No.
to know about, for
No.
example, things like pregnancy, things like periods and everything.
Yeah, there is, yes, but the thing is, and people would not want to accept this, and I always laugh whenever I see it. But when we had the old Andrew Tate red pill content going up, we also
Yeah.
had I don't know, I think it's called the pink pill movement also going on, right?
Never heard that in my life, but go
Again,
ahead.
this is I actually saw this from adolescence because I just watched it. But I could that was the first time I could actually put a word to it. As we had the women 18 content going out, we had the men 18 content going out, right? Coupled with the women experience. And the internet made it so easy for you to now begin to see things holistically and begin to share experiences and to own experiences that are not yours. Right, we spoke about this one time, Michael, where we spoke about like you see a tweet on Twitter, and then you're all of a sudden just taking it up like it's yours, like you
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
that this is right.
Yeah.
Like it's your
Now,
life, yeah.
the internet made those experiences. There are women that, like, for example, half of the experiences that they've seen. It's like when you hear of all these rappers that they grew up in the suburbs and they're rapping like from the hood or something, right? It just picks up like shared experiences here and there where some men that have never been hurt in their life, they've been surrounded by lovely women, they go online, they see Andrew Tate's comments, Andrew Tate's posts, and then they start finding these
Feeling
patterns
it.
in other
Yeah.
things that don't
Yeah.
even necessarily exist in your life, and then they pick up emotions that don't exist. Those
And
two
it's like
things.
is your mother like that? Is your
It's your
sister like
exactly. You hear things like I hate men. Now I understand where they are coming from with their hate men stuff, right? But then you look at some of the people saying this, they have the most awesome parents. They have their dad is awesome, their dad loves them so much, and then
Yeah,
their brother loves them. And you're like, what's
I
going
think
on
that's
here?
different, Samuel. It's different. What's going on there is that you might not, if you ask any woman that you know in your life, if they've
Mm-hmm,
ever experienced any form of harassment or abuse or anything,
mm-hmm.
the answer will constantly be yes.
I
That's
understand.
not the same thing
No,
for men. So because of that, some people,
wait to.
okay, if you ask any, there's a
any,
difference.
yeah, yeah. There's a difference,
I'm not
yeah.
saying don't do that thing that Idris just talked about, which is that you are comparing that. Oh, does that now mean that men don't? I'm not saying that.
Okay,
I'm
that's
saying
fair.
that when you
That's
put the
fair.
statistics together, more women. Is there any woman in your life that you can point to that has not experienced it? Maybe you've not asked them. If you can point to any right now, go and ask them after this call. You would be disappointed. That's
See,
just the unfortunate
see,
truth.
and
Why
I
I'm saying
totally
that is
understand
that
that.
when people say things like, "Oh, but you're surrounded by the best fathers and brothers," those are not people hurting me. I'm walking on the
No,
street,
wait. Let's
and
be clear
I'm
on the context here,
no,
Michael.
it's because you might be. It's possible for someone to think this person grew up surrounded by love from this other gender. So
Mm-hmm,
why are they suddenly against this gender? The
mm-hmm.
people that hatred did not necessarily come from their experience with the gender in their family.
Mm-hmm.
It could be external. It could be the NYSC person in
See,
there that's teaching them
But
like
but but
we are.
but
I
I
think
guess
you
but I
are. You
guess
are.
the point but I guess the point is like if you
yeah,
have good examples, and
yeah,
obviously there are also bad examples, that
yeah.
means that it's not all men.
Oh,
See,
it's never been all men.
so
Nobody. I
so
don't think
so
that's the
so.
conversation here.
See, wait. I
It's
want
like
to be
saying
sure
this.
that
No, it's like saying
I'm
that.
understood here.
It's like saying, oh, when people say things like, "Oh, Nigerian police," and somebody saying that it's not all Nigerian, who cares whether it's on Nigerian police or not? That's not the point. You get it? When people say men, yeah, it's not as a collective to describe
It's
something. It's like
what we
when
represent.
Samuel talks about the church, he talks about pastors. Does that mean every single pastor in the entire world? No. But would you be analyzing that every time? I'm not saying all pastors. No, whoever is thinking of saying all pastors is not serious.
Wait, though.
That's not the
I
point
want to
here.
be sure before we go on.
Generally.
My point
Yeah.
with what I was trying to make was that
Mhm.
it's both ways, where we have people that have had good experiences with the women in their lives, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, Israel, you know this. I always say that I
Yeah.
was this close to being caught up in red pill, because there was
Oh.
a time when there was a time when Israel and I were exchanging like videos every time about, like, they were like the guy with the ick list. There were a lot of content creators that were
Oh, I see what
posting
Samuel
about
is saying,
messaging that I did not have those lived experience, but every single time I interacted with those platforms, I was mad that people are thinking like this. And then I started seeing patterns that did not necessarily exist, right? But I was making those patterns because of the content and information I've been consuming. And I'm like, it goes both ways. So it's like, for example, you see women, there are people, I can list a couple of content creators right now, women content creators that make women targeted content. And if you see the amount of men hate in their comments, and they have millions of followers, like millions of followers.
Yeah.
I had posted
I guess
posted
Samuel
like
is taking us back to the context of the fact that the
I
divide
get what Samuel is
has
saying.
developed. Yeah.
so it's always been there. So it's like I get, like, I recently had a conversation on my stories recently about this same thing, where it's like someone that said, "Oh, I want to change my interaction with men," and was constantly putting out men 18 content while she was seeing a coach that was trying to help her fix her men 8. And I'm like, you are doing
Right.
two things. Like, and she has followers, she has hundreds of thousands of followers, and they follow her for that, And
Yeah.
so it's like, yes, you think that the divide is closing, but it's not, because what is
Yeah,
happening is
apparently not.
social
I've
media
learned my
is
lesson now.
amplifying the
Yeah.
But
negative messaging.
this video that went viral made me realize that while I was thinking also that we're closer to the era where men begin to express themselves, I see on Twitter people saying things like, "Nah, that man fuck up for even
Yeah.
expressing himself."
Yeah.
And I'm not saying women are not the ones saying this, so men.
Yeah.
So I'm there thinking, I thought we all already agreeing now that everybody should talk and open up.
But
But men are even blaming that man for having
Of
spoken it. Not
course.
like
but
they're not blaming him for
I'm
speaking that way. They're not blaming
I'm
him for
saying
speaking that way.
exactly. So you see, that's the
They're
problem.
saying
So that's
that
the problem. The
himself.
problem is not, and I think that's so. Like, something came up yesterday, like when I was talking to my girlfriend. Like, I feel like men are more open. There's also this general thing that I've heard a lot of women say that, number one, men don't have deep relationships. Men don't talk about like deep things, and I'm like, that is totally wrong.
untrue.
Like,
So
and
untrue.
I'm saying that men are more likely to open up to other men
Their
because
fellow
they
men.
understand the struggle, and they know that
Yeah.
they will not be judged. Like, if I say that I'm feeling like, if a man had been with other men and be like, "Bro, I did not sleep," or I'm be like, bro, now the same thing, like
Shele.
same thing
Yeah.
happened to me, like, and they'll be
Yeah.
like, "Bro, what happened?" Like, and it's
That was
I
what
mean,
happened
I will,
past me.
yeah, I will also flag this out because I think it's also a misconception, which is also like, people, I would just say people generally expect that men and women deal with issues the same way, but I don't think it's the same thing. For
It's
example,
not.
a woman, when maybe she's going through a downtime or something, maybe what she needs is someone to hug her and those kind of things. But people, and I would say women, sometimes think that because I'm going through a downtime, and I message somewhere and I'm like, "Oh, let's play a game," or like, "Oh, like that." I feel like they feel like that is not a proper way to handle it. I'm like, it might not be proper for some, and it's not
And
even
it
the
will
same
work
thing.
for me.
But it works for someone, and
works,
that doesn't
yeah.
mean that it's a toxic way. But
Yeah.
that's by the point. So,
Actually, I want to make a reference to this, right? I want to make a reference to this, and I just said. So Israel and I played a game like a couple of days back, right? And it was bad. Like, it was FIFA. He flogged me like 9-1, like 10-1 or something. And it's not like Israel has never. He typically would win on most of these games,
Has
right?
never flogged you.
But
Oh,
not at this wide margin, right?
okay.
And so I was like, bro, I'm not in the mood. And it was like, what's going on, right? And I basically had this whole venting session where I just told him everything that was going on with me while we were playing the game.
yeah,
While we were playing the game, right? And what I would like there was, I mean, he still won me, but there was an apparent change in how the game was played at that time. Like right there, right? The
Yeah.
gap
Like
reduced
you
from
could
like
see like I could see that things, at least the mood was getting better.
yeah,
Do you get? And I think the same thing happened. Like the game we played before that, right? Like I was even like, yeah, I'm not playing very well because like I'm not in the right kind of mood. And just by playing game, just talking about random shit, like things
Yeah.
got better. Like like it beat me in like the first two games or something like that. And like after like I started coming back, and that is a sign that, oh, actually like my mood actually did improve. And people can do that, like men can do that the same way. But like back to the point that like men are more, which is like the point that Michael was raising, that the people were not blaming him for feeling like that, because some of them actually understood.
For
Yeah,
expressing it.
but I think men are discovering that like it's one thing for people to come on the internet of like, oh, I mean, I think we've had, which is why Michael, like maybe you've forgotten, we've been doing these things since OAU. Like at least I've been doing this since OAU. You know, when we're in university, like people,
Mhm.
like women will come be like, oh, you know, men don't show their emotions and all those kind of things. Like men don't cry and all those kind of things. And we're asking all these sisters in fellowship, and we're like, if your boyfriend was crying in front of you,
how would you
how
feel?
would you feel?
Yeah,
A lot of people were like, ew, like they will feel
yeah,
the ick.
yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
and
like
can you imagine?
you
Like
want
on one side, you are saying that, oh,
yes,
men are not crying enough, men are not doing this. But on
yeah.
the
But if
other
you cry,
side,
you feel the
but on
ick.
the other side, if you say that if your boyfriend is crying, how
Mhm.
would you feel? And you're saying,
Yeah,
you can say men are not crying enough, but you're like, if your boyfriend is crying, if your dad is crying in front of you, how would you feel? And
yeah,
you're saying, oh, you feel the ick, you feel like
yeah.
it's not sufficient enough.
It's not so
And we're
yeah.
having these two sides, which is the problem. It's
From the
like
same people.
from the same people. So you can't be
Yeah.
holding the fact. I mean, like we know that men need to like be more expressive enough and all those kind of things. But we found out that in a lot of cases, when men express how they feel, they are judged, they are like brought down, they are said they are not men enough.
Mhm.
They are told that
Yeah.
they are not doing something right. And it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You get like,
After
let's
after
be
one
real.
of my one of my breakups, I realized that what happens is women theoretically like the idea of a vulnerable man. Theoretically. But a lot of women are not equipped to undo a vulnerable man. Right?
That's also
They
another part.
they
Yeah.
do not understand it. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't understand how a man can be a strong, dependable man while still showing emotions, right? They've grown up like and which was also quite annoying because except you are a malicious person, when you listen to what this guy was saying in this podcast episode, a lot of the things he was saying was eating it deep. Like I was shocked that there was this much depth when it comes to masculinity in Nigeria because he was explaining a lot of the things that a lot of Nigerian men don't think about. It was
Mhm.
like it was explaining a lot of those nuances, explaining how it has to be about service. They were like, "Oh, what's the hard thing about marriage?" And it was like because you will not always find your way, like you will not always get your way in marriage. That's an idea that doesn't come just off the streets in
Yeah.
Nigeria, right? And so a lot like when you think about how in this case where we're trying to say, okay, men needs to be expressive, men needs to be this, men needs to be that. Women are the one pushing this messaging because they're like,
Mhm.
oh, men not being expressive is harming both us and men, right? And so we
Yeah.
need men to be better. And so men are trying to be better. By example, coming on a podcast episode, which by the way has maybe 1,900 views so far, 1.9k views, right? But it's trending on Twitter for almost 3 or 4 days now, which means people were not watching the video. Right, and so you see, men are being expressive, men are opening up, and then the same women are saying that, oh, whose princess is this? Which Kinika is this? I like every time I tell people, like now, I am not afraid to outsass a woman. I do not care what she thinks. I do not care how she. If a woman comes to me and tries to act like she's Kinika, she's tries to like you're trying to like use these
What
tags
is
on me,
outside?
basically be sassy to a woman, like
Yeah,
Oh.
sassy.
be snacky to her or something. If she comes and she tries, like I've had people try to do this thing with me that, oh, whatever, like, oh, why you acting like a princess? Why you not be a man? There was one time I snapped at one of my friends. I was like, don't say that to me. Don't you dare say that out to me. Like,
I think it's also like,
don't
what
you
does
dare
that
say that out
even
to
mean?
me.
That's the
No one
problem.
It
has
means it
usually
means
ever.
don't cry. They actually know what it means, Israel. Don't cry. Don't say what you
Yeah.
are feeling. Don't no.
I think
Keep that in your
generally
pants, please.
there are people who don't. I mean, there are women who don't want men who cry. And I think those men, lots of those men exist. Like a lot of them exist who bottle
Yeah.
their feelings. Whatever you find in marriage, I mean, good luck to you. Whatever it is that you discover after being with such a man. But I think ultimately, for the good of the society, we want men who are expressive and cry. That's just what we've realized.
Yeah.
We realized that for the society and the human race to succeed in whatever way you define that, it will be good for both genders to express their emotions and their thoughts as it is going on with them. What we are seeing with this kind of male-centered podcast is also like these people are not even, they're not pushing out like red pill like you talked about. They're asking men who are married with kids, like the kind of role model man, to come and talk about
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
even say let's even say that this person has said something wrong. Let's actually say that he has said something wrong on the podcast. This is not how you're going to change society. It is not by
Yeah.
dragging the person who makes a mistake when they're trying to build something. That
Mhm.
you are not going to succeed that way. It's like there's a difference between if you're trying to solve a problem, you have to create a lot of leg room. I don't know, room for it. It's like we're trying to solve gender
Like
equality. One
people
of the
need to make mistakes along the way to learn the
and you need
right way
to
to
allow
do
them
things.
to
Yeah.
make that mistake. We want to solve gender equality. United Nations creates sustainable development goals and they put
Yeah.
SDG 5 there so that everybody can focus their attention on this. Many people will do the most ridiculous thing because of that, but it would help because cumulatively, when we look at it 10, 20 years from now, things it will be like a
Mm.
like this. It won't always be that every man would get it right. Do you get it? But if you want to create a society where people open up, then it's going to be little by little. And
Yes.
then if someone says something wrong or something that you disagree with, I don't have a problem with people that disagree with this man. I think it's totally fair for you to
Yeah.
disagree with
Yes.
him.
Yeah.
The problem I have is the fact that the outrage and the way people attacked this person. I don't think I would attack anybody like that. I don't think I would attack even maybe someone who is racist to me. I don't think I would. It's like I don't know how to explain it, but my own understanding of addressing people I disagree with comes from people like Mandela and Martin Luther King and everything. It is not by giving violence back and being
Yeah.
like abusing and just being pure wicked towards this person. I read Twitter threads. I saw people laughing. I saw people mocking, and I usually want to ask people that what is the net positive of this thing that you've put out? Like, do people
Mm-hmm.
think
See,
in that regard? Like, what
people
is the
don't
net
deep.
positive of
People don't deep
this that you've
Twitter the
put
way
out?
you are deeping it right
Are
here.
you? I think so. I think people do not. I think that's why we see things like this go around a lot. Because if you are thought about it and realize that you know what, if I react to this guy publicly to my 1 million followers, a lot of people are going to see it. They are going to drag this guy and they're going to. It's better maybe let me just leave the podcast. Let the podcast be there.
She,
Nobody should
she,
watch it.
she.
You
You
get
know,
it.
you
But
know.
I think ultimately people don't think about the consequence of their actions a
Yeah.
lot, especially when it comes to online
So,
engagement. But yeah,
and
um,
here's the thing that I think has even now made the entire thing even much more distasteful for me. It's
mhm.
how they've now given extra talking points, right? And I know, and I know that when I say this, a lot of people will start saying things that, oh my God, you're blaming women again, blah, blah, blah. But women have now become the downfall of women because they've empowered another generation of women eating men to look at an example and say, hey, when a man did this, this was what your kind did, and
It's not
this is
even
now the
just that.
repercussion.
I don't even think that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing is that if at all there were some boys or young men thinking that they could express themselves and open up before,
Yeah.
this has
Yeah, it's the
that's
same
the
thing.
biggest problem.
It's the same
Yeah.
thing
The
because
biggest
they
problem
will find those
is
models. They will
actually,
find these same
is
models that are
actually
saying
that
these negative things.
the biggest problem now is that a lot of men are not going to be comfortable coming out to talk about. Let me give you an example. You know, there was time this pastor that went viral for people digging out his past and everything. And I've been checking once and I see that he has not posted in a while. And what that will probably do to some people is that they go to their past, they delete a lot of things and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then some pastors would be some people that probably maybe they were living a very, sinful life before, and then they moved to Christ and then they're living a holy life now. They would be very careful about wanting to be in the public eye because of
Yeah.
that. What that does sometimes is that it creates a deterrence. So people would not want to engage in that kind of life again. So, for example, now if you are invited to a podcast and they ask you a male podcast and they ask
Yeah.
you to talk about your experience and your
It was
feelings, you're
it
going to
was
now
even
remember. You're going to remember October of
I mean,
2025,
it was
obviously, you remember. I'll be like, no, I don't.
and then
Don't want
you're
to
going
be
to
it,
be
set
like,
up for drag.
"I'm
it
so
was not a
grateful for my
male
wife.
podcast,
My wife
which was
was your
even
love."
much more funny.
It was what?
It was not a male podcast. It was a podcast by a
No, no, no.
woman.
You're not getting the focus of the podcast of him talking is from his own. Like as a man, what was your
Yeah.
experience?
Yeah.
It was not supposed to be about the woman's experience. It was about, it's like asking you now that, oh, as a black man in America, what was the experience? Someone like, are you not saying Hispanic people are not going through? I mean, they ask me for my own
They're
experience,
asking you
right?
about my experience.
This
Like,
is
do you
not
want me to
about
talk about another person's
everybody.
experience?
This is
Yeah.
particularly
it's
about
even an
me.
the man did
So yeah,
everything theoretically right. He spoke very highly of his wife, very highly of his wife. Spoke very highly of
and
his
he
marriage.
said,
Spoke
"This
very
is
highly of his relationship
just
with
a
his
mess."
parents, right? Spoke very like every single thing right. He spoke
Mhm,
about pouring it back to the younger generation. He spoke about being a
mhm,
model. He spoke about like making sure that we are preparing the next generation of men to be
Yeah.
better men for themselves and for the
yeah,
people coming after them. He spoke about
yeah,
all these things. And then the idea of him expressing what it means to be a better man was dragged again by the same mob that would do
mhm,
everything. And someone said something on Twitter that got me, and I think that's it. Right, that was the part that it was like we keep letting people that hate the people they are around dictate how we approach people we love.
mm,
It's like, and I think that that's good. Everything, like in my own case now, right? I would say like I'm surrounded by a lot of great women. I'm surrounded by a lot of good women. I'm surrounded by a lot of women that would not agree with this messaging, right? But then by this same stand, like the women that are like them are now creating an unsafe environment for even these good women, right? Because they meet all of these men that have been hurt by this case. Like if you're someone that feels deeply and you're in the process of thinking about going out and talking about your emotions and stuff,
mhm.
this is a deterrent for you. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
And then they
I
meet a
think
man.
also, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I
I
don't
think
even. I'm repeating point
ultimately,
at
my
this
own
point.
is even that I think it. I don't think is like it's okay if you disagree or if you think the man did not do the right thing, but I really think approach matters a lot. I feel like that video was just mocking. I don't think you should mock people generally. I don't think it's kind
Mm-hmm.
to do things like that, to just bring somebody up on a platform where I have power and I have strength. I mean, some of us experienced this in secondary school where we were bullied or we were like, do you get our teachers even set us up and say like bright, you are not bright or something like that. Like, yeah, so imagine
Yeah.
having gone through that and then as adults again, we are setting up
We're
someone
repeating this.
to be
Yeah.
bullied. We see these things as people who are black people living abroad. You know, for example, that if you do something, maybe that is even right, and then I mean I enter some stores sometimes and they tell you that please can you take off your hood and everything. And I know that they're not asking everybody to take off their hood.
Oh,
They're
really?
asking
That
you,
is
do you
crazy.
get yes now. There are some shops in London that they have please take off your hood as you enter. And you know that it is not for everybody, obviously. You know
Yeah.
why people will take off their hood. Now imagine that you actually go in with your hood and everything, and somebody now takes a video of you and be like, and the person is now maybe a white supremacist. They just set you up to be dragged because
Yeah.
they know that their community is looking for people like you who are wearing hood around London,
Scapegoats. Yeah.
disobeying this. Yeah, they just set you up. They know what is going to happen and they set you up to be dragged. If the goal of that video was to educate and to correct, there are better ways to do that than to set up somebody to be dragged. That's my biggest concern. If
Yeah.
people disagree or agree, that's something else
Me,
entirely.
I
Like,
mean, I
up to
think
you.
I
Yeah, I know the relationship I'm going to have with my wife and my family. I mean, so I know the kind of things that is going to be happening and what I'm going to be able to say or not say. If you want to have the relationship where that's some a man can't say something like that, that's left to you and your family. But collectively, I don't think that I think that video could have been better expressed.
me, I don't
If she
think
is
there was
saying,
a
for
point
example,
of that
that
video.
if she is saying that the man was wrong in the way he expressed himself, she was
Mm-hmm.
also wrong in the way she addressed the wrong of the man.
Yeah.
That's just again us people.
Me,
So
I think it
probably
was even like I think
that.
that video showed where our mind was. It's a thing of when it's very reflective of how like when men talk about their emotions. You know what you when we're talking initially, you had corrected me on
Mhm.
something when you are like, oh, we are talking about this. Don't make this about this other topic.
Yeah.
Like, well, see, that was what happened, right? It was a thing of I said, oh, this is. Mine was like people just you're not asking how I'm doing, right? And then
Yeah.
I didn't sleep for 12 hours or 24 hours or something, or
Yeah.
48 hours. And then she goes, my mom did not sleep for this, because we're not talking about your mom. We do not care
Yeah, like
about your
don't
mom,
tell me about you
right?
at all in any way.
This is not about like why are we trying to, and it's not even like the
Oh
comparison
my
you are
god.
making is an LD or a good one. You're just saying it in a way to invalidate what this guy has said because you have someone that did not sleep for long.
I think
And
it's
I'm
just
like,
setting up the drugs, to be
I'm like,
honest.
you are
Yeah.
the same standards, like the same standards you are asking. Whereas like when we are
Yeah.
talking about this whole conversation about women, don't
Yeah.
make it about men. Why are you making a conversation about a man that is not you, that obviously did
Yeah.
not carry the child, so you can't relate
Yeah.
to it because you were busy carrying the child, and he's telling you this is how I feel. right? And then you are like, oh, well, my mom this,
That
and you
video is meant
deflected
for
entirely.
that video is meant for us as men to
Yeah.
know what we are going to experience when our wives get pregnant. And we were the target audience. It was never about
It
women.
was,
It was
yeah,
never targeted to women. This guy is telling us that this is what you're going to go through as a man when and we will, oh, thank you very much for this video. We now know. So when that
Yeah.
happens, we won't say, oh my god, nobody checking me. We'll be like, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I already kind of prepared my mind because I knew that my wife would need most of the attention during this. That was how that video should have went. It should have just been an
yeah,
educational video for men.
yeah,
But now it is the talking points on social media. But yeah, I think we can end it here,
Yeah.
to be honest.
yeah,
Yeah, this has been a fun episode. Thank you very much for watching up to this point. If you disagree with us, that's totally fine. We actually would love you to disagree, but please make sure that you express yourself as respectfully as possible in the comments. We are actually not your government, so we'll delete your comments and we'll mute your comments if we see anything that is disrespectful. That's just it. This is not a democracy. But if you want to share alternative opinions, definitely feel free to share that. If you feel like, yeah, we spoke your mind, you can also let us know in the comments. Ultimately, people are entitled to their opinions, but let's just try to be kind. Let's try to be respectful of other people. Let us just take it easy all the time. Like take a chill pill. And yeah, have a good one. Share this podcast, like, comment, watch our previous episodes, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.